You ready for one more?
Yeah, what you got, man?
Odell?
This is my thing with Odell.
I don't think a Steeler-Cleveland trade is happening. That's probably the main thing.
That's the part. Because Odell, even though he's been in and out with injuries, we saw even with Case Keenum, he still can get it done. Baker, it's that weird dynamic of he forces it to him or he ignores him completely. Case could get it to him, and Case showed that Odell is still very effective. He's still super tough. He's still a matchup nightmare. But Cleveland and Pittsburgh doing business together, I don't know. I don't see it, because Cleveland for a fact knows that they're one game above us in the division right now, and they're still very much in the hunt. So for them to give up Odell,
that would help us,
and knowing it's going to hurt them as well, because they don't have another Odell on that roster right now. They got good receivers, but none of those guys are Odell.
The whole argument is like you don't use them right.
But this is what I say to myself: the run game, now their running game is already a beast.
They don't even need Chubb or Hunt.
But it helps out a ton when you got Odell. You know why? Because you can't stack that box, baby. You stack that box and give Odell single coverage for 4 quarters. You want to. You play that game you want to. We know how that's going to end. So it makes you have to respect him just being out there. Cleveland's not willing to give that up to us.
No.
Because if they give that to us, come on, bro. We already said we don't have that. Like, we got guys we hope can emerge to that, but we haven't had a guy really say, hey, he took that step. He's the guy now. We still, if I ask you right now who's wide receiver 1, we're going to get a couple answers.
Yeah, it's between Deontay and Claypool, obviously, with Juju being hurt. But it's back and forth every week, really.
Yeah.
And there's always one thing that makes you just step back and like, oh, man, you're close. You're close. You're just not there yet.
Whereas even with Odell's, disposition where it's up and down sometimes, right? Even with, oh man, he had a drop here, he had a drop there. None of that concerns us when we know for a fact if Odell's out there for 4 quarters and somebody's feeding him that ball, they can legitimately get it to him. We all know what he can do. We all know what our eyes are telling us. That ain't going away right now. I just don't see Cleveland giving us an asset like that.
I don't either.
That would be like us saying, hey man, we're going to trade away one of our, let's see, who do we got we can trade away? We got 3. Y'all want Melvin Ingram? We're going to trade y'all Melvin Ingram. We're not doing that. I'm not giving you one of my guys knowing that's going to help y'all out, and I still got to see y'all again.
Unless it's premium, unless you're giving us a first-round pick.
Right. But it's like, we still got to see y'all. We might see y'all in the wild card if we being real about it. I'm not trying to face that.
Yeah.
And I know they're not trying to face that right now, man. So I just don't see that happening. But the Brandon Cooks one, I like Cooks, though. That's intriguing.
The Odell Beckham contract makes even more sense than the Cooks because I think his dead cap over the next couple of years is like really low, so we wouldn't have to be tied to him. But I kind of would be, though, because he's a pretty damn good receiver. Exactly. So I wouldn't be really complaining if we had Odell on our roster for the next year. So we've been missing something like that since AB.
Shout out to his resurgence.
I mean, I told you.
Dude, you ain't convinced. No, I was on.
You know what might hurt him, though? These injuries, getting that over-under on the yards. But he's on pace. No, he's absolutely on pace, remember, even with him missing games. It was never
performance-related with AB. Never performance-related. We've never said performance. Here, yes. Not performance, though.
Gave a shout-out to Ben in that press conference.
He did, too. Yeah. I was waiting on the Landry Jones one. I had a lot of great quarterbacks to play with. Barrett, Brady. I was like, go ahead, throw that Landry. Can I get a Landry? No?
Yeah, you're right.
All right, no Landry. All right, cool.
Vic even.
Yeah, Vic shout out to Vic. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely, man. So I was like, all right, this cool. But he's only had touchdowns by those guys, so I can understand.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair.
That was pretty funny, though, man.
I think that's it for the trade talk.
Oh, I like this
there
trade
are some
talk. Let's play spicy.
There's some other receiver. People bring up Michael Thomas. I don't think there's any way we could afford that contract.
Yeah. We also saw somebody bring up Brandon Ayuk in the chat.
Ayuk. I've heard Gallup, actually. Him potentially being on the trade block with the Cowboys because he got hurt. Is he going to be able to reestablish his role coming back?
Dude, CeeDee Lamb is hooping down there. Him and Amari, man, they've been doing their thing, man.
So that's why Gallup's been brought up. I wouldn't mind that. We don't have to pay him or anything for future years. I think this is the last year on his contract for them. Yeah. So that wouldn't be terrible. Is that a third, 4th round pick? Maybe
that's the question.
That's like a 1 year rent. That's definitely a 1 year rental. So maybe the price isn't that high. But yeah, I think you're right. Like I would rather be an offensive lineman at left tackle.
If I'm going to give up a higher draft pick, I would much rather have an old line because that just helps us so much right now.
There's no one out there though. I tried checking. I really did.
without having to give up a king's ransom for him.
And like I said, with cornerbacks, it's either you're going for the top tier, or we probably shouldn't trade because how much better are any of these other guys than Cam Sutton or Pierre right now, where we're giving up draft capital.
Right. Because James Pierre, like I said, James Pierre still plays extremely well. We just know where his limitations are. It just is what it is. That's not going to go away.
Yeah, these single coverages against their number one receiver, like right before half, is not good.
And the thing is,
or in critical situations,
it's not even that. It's the field needs to be condensed for him because that's where the speed doesn't become as much of an issue. That's why when you talked about the pick, right? You know why? You don't have to worry about the vertical element when the field is condensed in the red zone. When you're 30, 40 yards out, Jamar Chase, remember how you hit him? 30, 40 yards out. That's where you have those issues right there because that's where the speed can really be shown. When that field is condensed 20 yards in, 10 yards in, we're not worried about that.
Yeah.
But you can't bank on that when he's playing out there as cornerback too. You can't survive that way, you know? And that's the part where you're like, man, we might need just a little bit better of an athlete out there. But right now, we don't really have that available to us. So with that being said, man, today's episode is brought to you by the good people over at DraftKings. You know, the leader in, sportsbook and stuff like that, because they are absolutely phenomenal and they're safe, secure, and more importantly, Deke, they are reliable.
Absolutely.
And we know we got first time people out there because this is my first time back, right? I was gone. This is my first time back. We all were first at one point in our life. But for those first time users out there, if you use the promo code MOATS, MOATS, you'll receive up to $1,000 in draft deposit bonus money, which is awesome because it's essentially free money, Deke. We always talk about big Deke investments and things like that. We always talk about, hey, man, I like these odds. I don't like those odds. Well, what if I tell you, Deke, hey, you going to put 500 in? You use the promo code MOATS? Well, I'm going to give you another free 500 to put in as well. That's the concept. It is that simple, ladies and gentlemen. It is that simple. So shout out to DraftKings. But we also know you got to be responsible, right? And that's why we got these disclaimers. But I'm not a big reading guy. So I'm going to just post it up here and let y'all read it. But what they say in church is, if you know somebody that needs some help, you better call 1-800-GAMBLER. Wow, yeah. If you got a gambling problem, whoa, better call that number 1-800-GAMBLER. Yeah.